Hello everybody, my name is Walter and this is episode 47 of my Redstone Commands Series. In this episode I want to cover the Gamerule command. Now, as the name implies, this command can be used to, for one, check the current game rules, but also change the current game rules. Game rules themselves are essentially just a set of customizable options for a specific in-game world that control certain behaviors, disallow or allow certain things to happen, or control certain functionalities. Now, the syntax for this command is pretty simple. We start with the name of the command, game rule. Then we specify which game rule we want to address. And if we stop there, we would get in return the current value of that game rule, whether this is a true or false for a Boolean value, or maybe a numerical value or something along those lines. If we instead continue with a new value, we overwrite the old one and set the new one. Now finally, let's have a look at some of the game rules that I use the most. First of all, if you want a list of all the available game rules, you can use the autocomplete function. So as you can see, that way you get at least the names of all of these game rules. Alternatively, you can go in the wiki and look in the table where you also get some additional information. Link for that is in the description. With that, let's have a look at these examples here. I've grouped them in two categories, those that affect the playing experience and those that affect the way commands work in general. The first one I want to cover is the do daylight cycle. If you set this to false, you can freeze the time. This is not the tick command, so this only affects essentially the daytime, so the position of the sun and how much daylight you have. The only way to change time from that point on would be using the time command or resetting the game rule to true. This can be extremely useful if you want to make a recording over longer times and you don't want the lighting to change. Similarly, the do weather cycle can be set to false to freeze or stop the weather from changing, except with the weather command. Again, quite useful for longer recordings. The do fire tick can stop the spreading of fire if set to false. Mob grieving can also stop the destruction of the environment via mobs this time. So creeper holes, enderman picking blocks up, but also items being picked up by the various mobs, which can also affect certain setups like villager farms. So keep that in mind when you're working with this command or this game rule here. The last one in this category is the keep inventory. If you set this to true, players will keep the inventory even if they die, which can be quite useful if you don't want to run to where you died in a hurry to get your items before they despawn. Now, the first game rule in the second category is command block output, which, if set to false, will stop the command blocks from spamming your chat with their return messages. I only turn this on again if I do some debugging on command block structures, but for the most part, I turn this off since I find it just annoying. The second command here is command modification block limit, which is rather new. And this allows you to change the maximum number of blocks that can be affected at the same time with the clone command, the fill command, or the fill biome command. The default here is 32,000, and this is for most applications enough, but sometimes you want to affect a very big area, and then usually before this command or this game rule was introduced, you would have to split that whole area into multiple chunks, and this is extremely annoying, and now we have a way around this little issue. Max command chain length is quite useful when you have complex function structures that partially call themselves in recursive loops. And this game rule here determines how many commands can be executed in a single chain at once. The default here is 65,000, which may sound like a lot, but you can very quickly run into this when you're going through a big area with various commands, checking for certain things in the positions. And I had some cases where I had to go up to a couple million even to get this working properly. So quite useful when you go deeper into different program structures. Similarly, the max command fork count is a limit to how many forks you can make within a single tick. Forks are done, for example, in the execute command when you do execute as or execute at, and then you have multiple targets in both options. Here again, the limit is at the default of 65,000, but now you can go even beyond that. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode about the Gamerule command. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, see you.